And that's a cool opportunity as a leader, is to create these emotional experiences for people that will inspire them to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do on their own.
Right.
Like that. And that's what role play does. It's such a powerful tool to get people moving, and there's an accountability in it.
This is the Just Real Quick podcast, where we discuss how to succeed in the world of sales through confidence, discipline, and consistency. Are you ready to be intentional about creating more opportunities that lead to sales? Tune into this episode right now for the latest insights and strategies that will take your sales game to the next level. I'm your host, Jefferson K. Rogers.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Just Real Quick. I'm your host, Jefferson Rogers. Today, I got two co-hosts with me. Really excited about this one. Good friend of mine. Both of these gentlemen are Jeff Fieldstad and Mr. Joel Taylor, here to discuss some very important subjects today on sales, role play, and how you can apply those things to your process to level up, to become an expert salesperson in your industry. So to start us out today, we had a great experience yesterday. Me and Jeff got to go over and see one of Joel's jump starts that he runs every morning with his sales team. And one of the things they do to cap off that meeting is do some role play. And it was a really cool interaction where he has one person act as the homeowner, and then he subs people in at certain parts of the process at really uncomfortable transitions, so somebody can pick right up where the last person let off. And I think that there was like 6 different people that jumped in, did an incredible job. And these guys, most of them are coming from very little experience, never done sales. And now, because of the direction, the leadership, and the teaching spirit that Joel has, they've all been able to level up, one of the main tools being role play. So now tell us about the story from today's role play.
So we did the same thing today. What I like about doing a group role play like that is it's too easy to only pick one homeowner and one coordinator and have them go at it the whole time. It's really easy for the group to zone out.
Yeah.
But if they know that at any given moment they may be swapped out, and
they got to stay engaged. They're like, where are they at in the process? Mm-hmm. Man, what question just got asked?
I think what was cool too, when I was watching it, is not only keep them engaged, but also maybe in a situation where normally in a sales conversation, they might have taken it somewhere else where they've got to step up where somebody else took it. And that might not happen to them very often, which is cool.
That is true. Because like if you have to pick up where somebody left off and you've never been in that down that road before, oh, you're out of your element, and it stretches you.
That's awesome.
And dude, that's one of the most important parts of being able to help these people grow, is stretching them, putting them in uncomfortable scenarios, and they're being forced to get creative, and it builds confidence. And doing it in front of a group, if you can do it in front of a group of 20 people, like we were watching those guys do it, like standing in front of a homeowner where it's just you and them is easy. That's easy.
And the homeowner doesn't know if you're messing up, right?
They all do.
Yeah,
the one was messing up.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody knows when you step outside the script or when you've done something that's going to hurt you, everybody's like, oh.
Yeah.
But you know, the cool thing is everybody's been there before.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it's really hard to get a lot of support. You know, by the time we're done with a role play and you start clapping and let's give these guys a hand for it, man, they feel good. And everybody, it's genuine, it's authentic. People are like, good job. Even if you just showed up.
Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
So I'm curious, Joel, because there's so many good things that come out of doing role play, including that one that you just mentioned with the recognition that they got afterwards. So what else do you feel like that you guys do that you found through trial and error and lots of experiences working with different levels of learning capabilities, starting in as a substitute teacher, you started picking up some of this stuff, and the way that you've been able to apply it here, and this being a great example in the way that you do your role play that is so unique. I've never heard of it done that way. So now the benefits that come from that and the confidence that it creates with your team, what are some of the other impacts that you've seen the role play make?
There's a reason why we on our pod trips, we made it mandatory for our guys to go out and have a role play every evening. And here's a specific benefit to your question. What you'll do is on your pod trip, you go out the first day, everybody's going to go out into a brand new area that they've never been in before, or in the area that they've knocked before, but it's going to be a different time. And they're going to get unique, situations that were unique to them at that time and in that place. Then they come back in the evening and they can sit down and go, okay, what objections did you get this time? What did you get? What did you get? And when they do that role play and practice for them day 2, they're fully loaded, right? And
Incredible.
you do that again at the end of every day. And that's a really big piece of creating that momentum. It keeps your mindset strong because you're prepared to go into that area, as opposed to feeling like I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were just talking about last time versus the practice performance. You go practice something, you perform it. You practice something, you perform it. And you're able to kind of adjust every time you go out and not continuously making the same mistake over and over before you had a chance to correct.
That's
And this is a unique scenario too, because a lot of people work the same market and they'll be in that market day in and day out for months and years. It's still important in all those scenarios too. But what's even more unique is when these guys go into a new city, they've all got their own little personality and there's a new culture and there's different things that if everybody wasn't on the same page to come together each night after the first day and collaborate on what they're seeing to make the adjustments for day 2, we've seen these pod trips go to shit because they didn't do that.
Yes.
And nobody knew how to handle it. And everybody was doing it their own way and nothing came of it. So not only does it apply in a normal circumstances where there's repetitive nature of business going on, but even more importantly, when you have this type of scenario, when you've got to evolve and adapt very quickly in a short period of time, these guys are only there for 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
And they got to make some quick adjustments.
Yeah. And that's just on a pod trip. You're right. There is a universal application to role play. Can you imagine? Well, I don't know if you've experienced it, dude. It helps me in my relationships, right? The German have a word for it. It's called Treppenwitzer, and it means staircase speech. Apparently, it's what you're saying when you're on your way down the stairs thinking, I should have said this, I should have said that. Next thing you know, you're giving yourself a speech, right? That's actually a form of reactive role play. Oh, I should have, would have, could have. Now, imagine if you did it on the way up the stairs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Which is so powerful in sales and also in leadership and handling difficult conversations. Because, man, if you just go blowing into a difficult conversation without having any foresight about the solution that you wanted to come from that or the impact that you were trying to make in that situation, I know I've experienced this firsthand. Like it gets handled terribly.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because a lot of times you handle it emotionally versus being prepared. And if you let your emotions take control, usually it doesn't turn out the way you really want it to happen.
And that's what sales is all about. Like,
Yeah.
every opportunity to talk to a person is an opportunity for you to get better, reflect on what you could have done better, the objections that you didn't know how to answer or you just didn't quite handle right, or the questions that you forgot to ask that you worked on but you haven't implemented yet, and they're right there, and sometimes you just need the reps to get them out. And the more work that you can do ahead of time with role play, with asking a coach or a mentor for advice on things, with working with your team who is out there in the trenches with you and getting their perspective and watching how they do it. And that's so exciting to be able to take all those things you have complete control over and to be able to go back out on that next door or that next day and be better equipped than you were yesterday.
Oh, it is. It's night and day difference. I've woken up like it role playing in my sleep. Mm-hmm. What I could have said better on the doors.
Yeah.
And oh yeah.
Yeah, that's someone who's obsessed with get better. I think we've all done that at some point. Woke up in the middle of the night going, man, I was closing a sale or prospecting or something in your sleep.
I was on that door all night.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's happened not as much for me in sales as it did in leadership and my interactions with people in those difficult conversations. Because I love sales and we're here to talk about sales, but it translates into so many other things in your life. Because the biggest impactful memories for me when I was needing to role play, but I didn't, and the impact that it had on the outcome were the most painful. And they teach you the most. So you can apply this in sales and leadership and communication with your spouse and your kids. Yep. Like everything that you're going through in life is an opportunity for you to reflect back on, take notes or just take a mental note or whatever your way of doing it is, so you can remember how you made that person feel, or the impact that you had, or the value that you brought, or the lack of those things, and how you can do it better next time.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what it's all about. It's all about doing it better next time. Here's what's fascinating. I compare role play to developing muscles, right? You can go into the gym and you can do wide range exercise and you can do not enough reps, any exercise is better than no exercise. But the closer you get to isolating the actual muscle that you want to develop or the motion that requires multiple muscles, and you're teaching how to, use those muscles in tandem together, then you're getting targeted exercise and you get more benefit.
Right.
So here's what's interesting with role play, that it's the same thing. You can just have a general role play and it's better than nothing at all. But I'll tell you, there is a pattern that I've observed. The first thing is what you want to do is you want to identify your problems. So it starts usually with a discussion. What is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? What was it that I'm still frustrated about? Why am I mad at myself? Or what is it that's really killing me here? And once you are able to extract that and create the situation where you're dissatisfied, that's lets you know what you want to role play on. So your first round of role playing is to develop a type 1 level response, which is any response. You just got to get a response. But if you quit there, you don't get full benefit. The next thing you have to do is you want to examine that response and go, can it be better? Is there a better response? And you want to hone it. And then your third round of role play is you got to take what you've honed and perfected. Now you've got to polish it to where it comes out smoothly. That's your delivery.
Yeah.
So, and you're round 3, you might have to do that 3 or 4 times, right? You might have to do any one of those stages 3 or 4 times.
So you become fluent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a multi-level process.
Yeah. And so it becomes naturally reactive. You program to that response.
Automaticity is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, we were talking about this earlier. It's like you have this intuition.
Yep.
Like you've done this so many times. You're so confident in your repertoire that you've built up to be able to overcome these things, ask the right questions, answer their questions in a way that's going to lead them to the direction that you want them to go in, that you will start to get this sense of knowing what's coming next.
Yeah.
And you're just flowing right into it. It's just coming right out of you. And that's why, like when we train new people, we've got to set expectations with them, because it's tough for me to send people with you and then have them come back and expect it like how quick can I get to a place where I'm doing that? And it's unrealistic for them to think that like within the next week, they've got this incredible training program and I'm going to be as good as Joel.
Atlas body.
There is no easy button to getting the type of experience and the confidence in your process. There really isn't. You got to put in the work. And it's our job as leaders to be able to put that into perspective. Like, here's where you start. Here's the direction you can take this and the work that's going to be necessary, because I'm an example of that work over a long period of time.
Well, and I think that another thing going back to leadership and what's obvious with you, Joel, is you've provided an environment to where if somebody will just show up to that environment, they can go hone these skills like you're talking about in that environment, because you're running role playing every single morning, right?
And here's what's interesting. I'm not talking over you, Jeff, am I?
No, not at all.
I'm such an interrupter, guys. Here's what's interesting. Most people don't understand. You don't build an environment all at once. It's built one brick at a time. It's easy to walk in and go, wow, this is an amazing environment. But we built that one recruit at a time, right? And so what you got to do is at onboarding, that's when we give them their initial exposure to role play. We're doing it one-on-one in a tight situation where it's easy to just say, I want the benefit of it. And so we give them an initial exposure to that, give them a few reps. And then when we invite them into our Jumpstart meetings where they see other people getting in front of a group and doing it, and then we can invite them up, and it just kind of eases them into it. The next thing, they don't even, it's just kind of like acclimating a fish to a different temperature of water,
It's part of the environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a new expectation. And it's for some people, because as we were talking about it in the beginning, I'm going back to like my first experiences role playing and people asking me to stand up in front and do a role play. And it was the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever done. It was so far out of my element. And I was like a pretty confident speaker, and I'm the oldest of 4 boys. And, there's all this confidence that I thought that I had. And then you get your first role play in front of a group of people. And I just I'm shaking like a leaf. But with every single one of those things, and putting your head down and overcoming a challenge and dealing with something that scares you, you become better.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of times in role playing, one of the things I noticed is I would do it so much with a group of people, and I would find a couple of kind of people would come up. Sometimes people would come up and they would have it down. And then people in the crowd would be like, oh my gosh, they're so good. And then you would call somebody else up and they're not going to be that good, right? It's so uncomfortable in the room and they just suck. And there's two things that happen at that point. I think the person in front of the room is thinking like, you're thinking like, man, I don't ever want to feel like this again. I'm going to go home and practice. I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn this. But then there's also the crowd watching going, I'm going to go home because I don't know when the next time Joel's going to call me up on stage in front of everybody. So I'm going to go home and get good at this so I don't feel like, because sometimes you're embarrassed for people, right? They say you want to crawl into your chair for them, right?
That was painful.
And so it causes both of those kind of people to maybe go put an effort when most people wouldn't. And I think that's another powerful thing about role play is that people watching will go put an effort that maybe in a comfortable environment they wouldn't, where there's a little bit of discomfort and people are growing and leaders are challenging them to grow and get better. They naturally going to go put in this effort when nobody else is watching simply because of how they felt when they were watching.
Yes. And that's a cool opportunity as a leader is to create these emotional experiences for people that will inspire them to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do on their own.
Right.
Like that. And that's what role play does. It's such a powerful tool to get people moving, and there's an accountability in it. Like you can't show up into this environment with these expectations and the standards that we set for our people and not have done some work in case you get called on.
Exactly.
In case you got to show up and deliver.
Yep. And you feel good when you do deliver, right? It's almost like you're being recognized in front of the group because you went home, you practiced, you got up. Oh, Joel's going to call on me. You get up and you deliver and you feel good. Everybody's clapping, and you feel good like, hey, so you're getting that dopamine response that everybody wants. So maybe you didn't close a sale or set an appointment because of it, but you still got that, peer, acceptance, if you will, right? Congratulations from people clapping because they went home and they actually got better. It's cool.
So I was going to say, Joel, that the reason that we role play, there's a lot of different things that come out of it because you're leveling up, you're able to overcome challenging things in your life. But the goal here is both in setting appointments and closing appointments that you're putting in the work ahead of time, developing the skills, becoming more comfortable under pressure, so that when you're in the moment, when you're in the game and you need to deliver, you've got the skills. And these guys are closing at the door. They've got to make assumptive little closes throughout the process, and they got to move people in the direction that they know is right for them. But sometimes people aren't capable of making that decision without a little bit of influence. So ultimately, sales is influencing people, and the better you are at asking the questions and evoking some emotion, the better your chances are at getting a good outcome. And then as far as closing goes, the impact that you've been able to see in people's ability to close as a direct result of the work that you've encouraged these guys to do, the role play, how has that made an impact on your team's effectiveness, both in setting and closing? Because I know that you witness your other team members working with the closers as well, doing the same stuff.
It's so amazing. We're at a level now where our guys that have been here just even a few months are smooth enough on our processes that I'm able to trust them with new hires and say, hey, we come in and help us out with this guy. It's so fun to watch. We did our role play this morning. We had 3 coordinators participate as coordinators, and then we had 3 homeowners. And I do this thing where we pick, everybody encounters the invalid, the excuses, the complaints that are just defensive reacting. Grant Cardone calls them a reactionary defense, or RDRs. Anyway, they're just reactionary defense responses, right? And we can generate those randomly. So what I realize is that we don't need practice sparring through those. We need practice digging deeper using probing and spacing, pauses to get to the bottom of things. So I invented this card deck that has their hidden concerns. And we give a card, let the homeowner have one of those cards out of the deck. And then the coordinator's job is to get through all the RDRs, get through all of the fake responses and find out what is the hidden objections,
The real objection.
and then evaluate it and go, is this a deal breaker to the set, or do I need to or can I still set this with an accommodation So it's some upper level stuff. Here's what we did today. And I got to shout out my guys. Elijah was a homeowner and Ethan came up and was so practiced. Why? Because he's been role playing it. He's been doing this. He was so smooth that Elijah was having a hard time keeping up with him, coming up with objections as the homeowner.
It's awesome.
So he pushes in, and then Elijah, his card was, I can't make decisions. I'm a widow. So he in the role play, he said, my daughter has this home over here. So then we took the role play over to the daughter's house. And we got another coordinator to be the daughter, and then we swapped out the coordinator. So now we're role playing to set the daughter. And her card was, I don't make any decisions without my husband. So we had Obi come and be the husband. And so we did that. We ran that one all day long and had Ramiro finish it up and had Daniel do it in the middle. And it was really funny. These guys, I can give them the hardest card in the world and they'll find it and they'll figure it out. It's pretty amazing.
And are you seeing it? So the big thing is that we're looking at the results. Yeah. Is it translating? Yeah. Because right now, you guys are having your best month ever with the same group of guys.
I know. We got more coordinators at or near 100K for this month than we've ever had before. Man, you know what? I'll tell you, the role playing, I know it pays off in the role playing, but I think it pays off also on the doors because I think, here's the thing. On the doors, it's really easy to bounce, right? Because you don't have anybody watching you. And so they may give you one RDR on the door and you might just go, okay, bye.
Yeah.
But when you're in front of your peers, that's not okay. It's not.
You got to keep pushing.
You'll get branded, or they'll get the feedback. You need to push in further. And so that's coming. You're going to beat that critique by pushing in further.
Yeah.
Role playing is where you learn to push in further past the objections.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it pays off.
You know what? I had a friend of mine. I'm not sure where he lives. Actually, I have a good idea where he lives. But he had one of our coordinators go knock on his door.
Really?
And he is giving them everything he can.
Yeah.
But once they found out that he was a friend of mine and he had these old 40-year-old windows, why don't you have windows? And they were so respectful and they kept asking me questions and kept like going for it. And they weren't paying attention to any of the objections or any of the concerns or any of the reasons why I couldn't do it right now. And when I walked away from there, I was like, he said he had a smile on his face. He's walking away. He's like, dang, that's Jefferson to a T right there. He taught these guys good.
Cool. It's awesome.
Because it's how we represent our company. Like every interaction that those guys have with a homeowner is a representation of JKR Windows and a representation of me and what we've built here and the strength of the beliefs that we have, that we know this is right for you. And we would be doing you a disservice if I didn't ask you all these questions, and didn't flush all this stuff out, and didn't make sure that I was doing my job to get you set up so you could look into this, because we know that you don't have the education or you would already have these windows replaced.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. We have that conviction, and it's really fun. You showed up at that role play yesterday, and it was really fun because everybody gets on their toes, and we all want to show Jeff how good we can do. So, I mean, it's really fun. That representing you thing, it does really come out. It's fun.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. I love being a part of it. Love seeing the progress that you're making with your team, the lives that you're impacting. That's the first time I've been there. Like I haven't been a part of your guys' little dynamic and your little leadership group for a long time. And you guys have done some incredible things with that team. So proud of what you guys have done.
We call it good seed, good soil.
That's right.
Buying the best soil we can, and Andy just keeps sending us some good seeds. So
that's awesome.
It's looking good for us.
Incredible.
We're all at a breakdown. I do have more if you want it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Here's what I got. What we tell our guys about role playing is that there's two kinds of practice. There's the expensive practice, and then there's cheap practice.
It's awesome.
Right? Expensive practice is when you're trying to figure out what you can do in the situation when it's too late and you don't have those skills.
Miss the sale.
Yeah, the cost might be you miss the set and not get the sale. The cheap practice is what we're always trying to get people to do. And then here's what's interesting. I've learned about the way Jeff's got many gifts. One of the things that you do that is so amazing is the way you are able to use in compensation to incentivize profit building behaviors. Okay. If you look at the way we pay people, if you're paid an hourly salary, that incentivizes you to perform when you're on the job. Yeah. Once you make salary, that incentivizes you to stay late, which you're still on the job. When you're performative pay, that incentivizes you to take work home.
Yep.
And that's what you have to do to be better at door to door. You have to be role playing with yourself. You know, shower, in the car, on the way home, on the way into area.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lifestyle. And once that happens, it changes the way you look at everything. At some point, you'll be like, you know, I'm spending all this time looking at how I can react to things that will make my job better. What else can I use this skill on?
Yeah, what else can I use to make this? Yeah, communication skills. I wrote down here, critical thinking skills is what I get from when I watch you role playing with these guys. They're not just responding to questions, but they're actually having to use some critical thinking to find that. And so when you say that in their personal lives or anything else, it teaches them how to be critical thinkers and find solutions to all areas of their life, right? Absolutely. It's awesome.
And what a cool example of a true teacher.
Yes.
Because you came from a background where you enjoyed teaching and impacting people's lives, and that was your vehicle. And some of the things that you naturally have translated so well over here because of these things, that the way that he articulated that and the critical thinking skills that you're implanting into these human beings are going to change the way that they navigate the rest of their lives. And this is something that you're just like witnessing from the outside, like, what else can I do here to make this more effective? And it's so unique that has been created because of the special gifts, the unique gifts that you have to see those opportunities to truly make an impact on people's skill sets.
It sure has been a fun process. It's really fun to be in this room and have you say that, because I'm like going to get a big head. I don't know how you get me out that door. But the interesting thing is this open forum wasn't entirely created by me at all, by any means. I feel like I can take this much credit for it.
Yeah.
What's amazing is that when we do our role plays, you know, we were up in front of about, 15 people, right?
Yeah.
And here's what we realized is that in a role play situation, I have the knowledge base of 15 brains, which is 15 times better than. And so if we can create an open forum, holy cow, that becomes a library.
You guys have a ton of engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody that opens their mouth and gives feedback, it comes from their unique experience, and it's awesome to hear what they bring. Because I'll be honest, my strength isn't generating ideas, it's making observations and seeing what people have already thought of or are already trying and just bringing it out into the light.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 15 guys out there, and they're in the trenches, real-time experience. If you count the hours of experience in a room full of 15 coordinators, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That's like Library of Congress data, you know what I mean?
It is.
And we get to bring that out into a situation where everybody can benefit by it. I love what you did yesterday. It's really fun at the end of a role play to ask the question, okay, who learned something? And see all the hands go up. Who can use it today? See the hands all go up. Okay, let's go get it. And then you get a call, you're out.
Yeah.
It's really fun to see.
It is good. It is good. You're impacting people's lives, and those guys are better equipped because of it. But one of the things I wanted to point out as we wrap up here is that this hasn't always been an emphasis. When you started in that position, we weren't doing regular role play, like in any area of our business. It was always a talk, and we knew we should be doing it. And there was, we were getting professional training from our coaches and these outside resources. But then, we've had to evolve and build our standards and expectations over time to be able to get to a place where we're consistently doing this, and we're making a bigger impact than we ever have on people's lives because of the evolution of our own leadership and expectations about the things that are going to make the biggest impact. So as we wrap up here, tell us a little bit about what that transition has been like so people can kind of put into perspective where they might be at in their businesses and how they can apply to this, that it's not an overnight thing. It has to be developed.
The most important thing is role play is in and of itself got so much negative to it, right? It's a high pressure situation, and you have to create a positive association that's going to displace the negative condition that it is, right? Getting in front of your peers is really hard. And again, for me, for our office, I got to think, you got to plug Andres. You can't talk about the culture of our office without talking about Andres. Love the backup that you got there and just laying out an expectation that this is what we do. Having that as a basis, first off, is really important. But then also the way we bring people into that expectation, right? And not just bringing them in through onboarding, but then how we maintain it. We maintain it by making sure that it's a positive experience by reinforcing people for doing it, and then pointing out the good things that they did, and then letting them know that when we're giving feedback, it's not just to attack them, it's to benefit the entire group. So we can keep it positive when we're doing it. We establish the positive by doing it through our one-on-one interactions at a beginning formative level, when I'm onboarding. Or if you were going to incorporate it new, right, to a pre-existing group, you'd want to be pulling them aside one-on-one and say, hey, I want to experiment a little bit with this. Will you do some of this role playing with me? And do that with each one of your team members until you can build up to a point where you're like, okay, I think we're ready for a group mediated and a group participation role play situation. Always keeping it positive.
That's been close to 3-year process.
Yeah.
Building it to this place that you have it now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight, but you guys have consistently put in the effort, learned how to navigate it, learned how to present it to people, and created the examples of what can come of it. Because that's also an important aspect too, because if people aren't seeing the examples and you aren't leading by example and doing it regularly, it's going to be harder to implement with new people, but it's become a part of the culture, which is incredible.
Yeah, you've got to be able to master something first before you can duplicate it into somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the most crucial thing when it comes to role playing is make sure you have mastered it so you can start actually duplicating your knowledge into other people. That's what creates the results these guys are getting right now. Because it's very clear that they're duplicating their knowledge in other people because they're having all these more people having more success than ever before because there's a larger group of people getting the same knowledge that you guys already have, right?
And if I can, one more, I know you're ready to wrap up. At the risk of making it sound like I built this whole thing all by myself, I just got to plug my team, bro. They're amazing. I got to plug Andres and J-Rod getting this stuff started for me, for all of us. All we do is just roll in there on the expectations and make it happen. God, I got an incredible group of guys. Man,
Amazing.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you for shouting those boys out. It is all about this team, man. We've got such a great culture, and there's no great individual success. It always has to do with the team that we've developed, everybody's contribution and everybody's buy-in. And you just happen to be the one that we get to see implement it and do it so well.
I think as you say that, you pointed that out, Joel, at the Jumpstart yesterday, that you had a situation and that they handled it correctly and you recognized it in front of the group. And I think that's when you talk about the team and the culture, I think that's an important lesson for leaders that are trying to build an environment where they feel comfortable going into a role play situation like this. They feel like there's going to be support, where there is potential for problems, that the correct solutions are recognized in a positive way. So good job, man, because I know they felt great about that.
And what's interesting, though, is you have to have a separate agenda. It can't be about me being right? Because today in our role play, I realized, you know what? I have been training people to do things one way, and our role play revealed, you know what? There is a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to be more interested in finding something that works than we are in making sure things get done a certain way. Like, let's all find the best way together.
Absolutely.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's just compelling. It's fun.
Hope you guys got some value out of this. Incredible content covered today. You got to take your role play seriously if you want to become a professional salesperson. It's just the bottom line. We all know people that have got some natural abilities, but most of us, me included, didn't have all those natural abilities built in. And I had to go do the extra work and do the sales training, surround myself with people, get comfortable doing the most uncomfortable things that were going to produce the best results in your sales career. So thank you guys so much for checking in to another episode of Just Real Quick. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the podcast. We appreciate you guys coming back and supporting us. Leave a review. If you got value here, share it with somebody else who you think could get value out of it. And keep coming back more for every week. We're bringing as much value as we possibly can. And until next time, see you guys.